We'll do a call to order and roll call. Denny, do you want to start?
Here.
All right.
Walden.
Okay.
Ann Zimmerman here.
Melanie Hedgepath.
Bonnie Schamberger.
We'll request staff confirmation of Kansas Open Meeting Act notice has been properly done.
It was.
All right. All right. Any introduction of guests?
Sorry, it's my first time doing this. So anyway, I'm representing a group of about 20 plus people. They're not all of us. They're younger than some of us are, so don't worry about that. But we use the sand volleyball courts at Jerry Ivy. We've used those multiple days a week for several years. And so we were just hoping to get some more information to see if those are going to be reconstructed, and if they are, maybe possibly the time frame or something that might be done in. We just wanted everyone to know that those courts do get utilized. We aren't the only people. We have some younger groups that coaches take out and practice on those courts as well, and we would really like to be able to do some tournaments maybe in the future, and so we just wanted to put that out there for everybody.
All right. Any other citizens that want to speak? All right. Do you want to address anything with that? Or?
If you're so obliged, I'll talk.
Obliged.
Turn the microphone. I turn my microphone on first. The sand volleyball courts were at Jerry Ivy, adjacent to the tennis courts, and that area was deeded over to the USD 305 for tennis improvements, and that impacted the former sand volleyball courts. There's a new tennis courts going in place of that, where sand volleyball was. It is our intention to, replace sand volleyball at Jerry Ivy, and we've been working to try to. My direction was given is that we want to make improvements and do a better job of what the courts were previously, improve the sand, improve the quality of the area, include drainage. We've been working with. We've been trying to find a designer who would give us the specifications to do something that would be of a higher level of quality. A lot of struggle for 8 months trying to find someone, but finally just 2 weeks ago, I did get some design specifications from our designer, or from our Bill Burke field, turf field installers, and I have those specifications, and it's my intention to turn that over to a designer, local designer, to give us a drawing and specifications to build from, and then proceed with that. The Jerry Ivy Park has some scheduled improvements going on. Right now, the tennis courts will be open in mid-June. It is predicted to be mid-June. We have an open bid process for the demolition of the pond, and that'll be filled in, and then it'll come back with another water feature in that area probably next year. We also have concrete improvements going in throughout the park, sidewalks, shelter house, concrete improvements. Part of that pond demo, we're getting a large amount of soil delivered to the south side of Jerry Ivy, where the location is to where I would like to put the future sand volleyball courts. Once that pile is removed, it's my intent to start working towards sand volleyball in that area.
All right. Thank you.
If there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to.
I do have a few comments. Generally, is it late March or April, they start going outside, and this group has developed kind of a Friday night drop-in for volleyball in the field house. It's tremendous, works well. They would use 2 to 3 courts there. So we've done that, and we kind of extended that, knowing that they are kind of in a predicament. So we've done that till the end of April, I believe. And then we're sprucing up Centennial. And I know it's only 1 court, but we're trying to do a little bit of work at Centennial. But this group here, at least 2 side-by-side courts is what they utilize for what they're doing. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? You guys don't have any other questions?
One question I have, is there any other sand volleyball courts in Salina?
As Travis mentioned, there is one at Centennial Park.
That's right, okay.
Yeah. And also what I would like to invite anybody from the sand volleyball enthusiast group or interest group, once we have a preliminary design for sand volleyball at Jerry Ivy, I'd love to share it and give your feedback, and then give that feedback to that designer, and we can start moving forward. Thank you.
Who's the ringleader? I know how to get a hold of Tom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what's your name then?
Christy Humphrey.
Christy Humphrey. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, or do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Thank you.
I move we approve the agenda.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right. The minutes from the last meeting, do we have any changes or anything needed there? For an approval for those minutes?
I approve that they stand as written. Move.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. All right. Okay, next are activity reports.
You'll have to excuse me. I usually try to highlight areas before the meeting. I did not get a chance to do that today. But one thing, I know there was one question brought to me about under forestry. We administered one arborist test, and I'd like to defer that answer to Brett Lamer if I could.
So, to do work here in Salina, the contractors have to be licensed. And so that's through the city clerk's office. So they come to the parks to basically take a test, unless they have other testing from an outside agency that we acknowledge. And so they come in and basically just gives them us the knowledge that they know ahead of time what they're supposed to properly do and how it's supposed to be handled. So that way later on, if they're doing something wrong, we can go back and say, you know that that's not the way it's supposed to be done. And it's just a way to kind of safeguard. A couple years and years ago, before they did that, they had a tendency to have people kind of come in, fly by night after storms, do poor work, and then leave. And so they basically started the licensing, and then in a way to kind of help back that licensing, they decided to start giving tests to anybody that wanted to. Once they pass the test, they're good to go. Then they can just start applying for their certification or their licensing through the city clerk's office. But we want to make sure they have that knowledge ahead of time, so that way we just know that they're doing proper cuts, and we're protecting our trees and our people and property. So that's what that's for.
A few other things I I'd like to point out, but feel free to ask questions. Under Parks Accomplishments, which I have on the other business, but the contractor completed a concrete curb at Country Club Park, and we added on or extended the playground there to add a swing set at Country Club Park, and that's been completed, and it looks great. And the park staff did a wonderful job. Landscaping, the storage area at Oakdale Park, we added on, and we installed a additional fence to increase the amount of storage in between the two Oakdale Park shops. At the cemetery, a new kiosk was installed, as you can see by the picture.
And that, it really works well. The
Oh, does
kiosk
it?
does, Yeah.
Good. I know Dennis told me, gave me an update. It worked really well.
And it stays on all the time now?
We're still working on it. It updates now, so now we just gotta get the,
Yeah, when I went through it, it seemed like it was working fine.
You might have to push your microphone too.
Oh, mine's not on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Instructional therapeutic recreation. We started our partnership with the Salina Public Library with various technology programming. Special events, we had the Easter egg hunts on Saturday, April 8th, had approximately 400 to 500 children
Wow.
at Berkeley Family Recreational Area.
That's a lot.
I'm sorry.
We determined that
That's
we
a
need
lot, I
about 3,000 to 4,000 more eggs.
Just a few.
400 to 500.
And if Travis wants to talk about any fieldhouse or athletics notes, that'd be great.
Sure, just a few highlights. We're really busy going from field house to outdoors, but we're, pretty busy both places. One big item to note, we'll host the ND2, they call it, National Homeschool National Tournament in the field house for the next 3 years. So that has been at Hutch the last several years. And so we're really looking forward to that event.
That starts next year, right?
Next year, 2020, would that be 5?
24 is the first year, will be the first year, right?
Yes, 24. So we got a 3-year contract on that. So really looking forward to see all that. That's 80-some teams. So, and they use a combination of the field house and Kansas Westland, and they just need a lot of space for what they're doing. So looking forward to that. Salina Liberty, I think I mentioned that to you. They do practice in the Salina Field House, utilizing the
If you
turf
haven't watched one of their practices, kind of changes the atmosphere of the whole field house.
a little bit.
Yeah.
We generally don't let the public in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Few other things. Sharp Performance utilizes the field house quite a bit, especially for if they're needing really big space for turf. They hosted a quarterback combine or camp in there. I thought that was interesting. And then their football combine, they have one in the spring and then one in the fall, I believe, or winter. So those generally have a good turnout. Match Madness, we've hosted that for several years now. One thing I noticed was there's a lot of kids in there. They started coming in. So I think it was 5th graders. Is that right?
All of the Salina 5th graders, somebody donated enough money that each Salina 5th grader could give $10. So their job was to go through and figure out which organization they wanted to donate to. So it was pretty wild.
It was busy.
It was busy.
It was really busy.
Yeah.
So that was a great event. Keep improving each year on that. We do host a couple indoor baseball, softball tournaments in there, in case you haven't realized, little 7 and 8-year-olds. We use leftover turf, and we call it the Little Green Monster, and we put a little turf wall up for them. So that's pretty neat. And then, of course, we're short officials, so we're trying to have as many umpire clinics, officials clinics as we can, and we did host one already. Did you want to touch on Bill Burke or me? Go for it. Okay. As you see a lot of destruction going on at Bill Burke, right? That means
I think it's not going the other way. It's
well,
construction.
we're past that. A lot to construction.
It's
So
good. Looking good.
in March, we did host our first tournament on the turf, and it was a USSSA fast pitch tournament. Really only open for fields 1 through 4. We only had 4 fields running for that, but we did host.
I was at that tournament. It went well.
Yeah. The south bathrooms are fully renovated now, and so please go in there. I think they look pretty well. There's a picture included. There are 2 other CXT units located in the complex, one in the middle, and then one towards the north by fields 7 and 8. So I think that's a great addition to the facility. Kudos to Troy. He's not here, but kudos to him and park staff for.
And the one that they remodeled, it sparkles. I wasn't used to sparkling in Bill Burke, so
Correct.
it shines. Yeah, looks good.
Well, kudos to him and then park staff for the water irrigation work and the sod work that you're going to be seeing here shortly. So, included pictures of the CXT and I think one field for the turf. And so that's coming along pretty well. We're right in that sod and irrigation phase right now. So soccer, I encourage you to drive by there on a weeknight or a Saturday. It's busy. So just please go out there. That's about it.
And under facilities maintenance, as I know, the Lakewood Playground has been actively getting buttoned up. Within really a day's work, 2 days work, the pour in place rubber surfacing people completed their work.
Have you played on it yet? Have you played on it yet?
I walked it when it was erected. I guess
Played
I
on
called it
before
play.
anybody else? Okay.
I'm not sure if I played on it, but I walked it all.
We were recreating.
You were recreating on it,
Yes.
and today the soil was there. We brought in maybe 9 to 10 truckloads of soil to bring the elevation up to match the elevation of the playground. That'll be seeded. We're working on getting a sidewalk poured, concrete sidewalk poured, and there are a Great Plains playground sign being installed. Don't have a timeline on that. I asked for that, but I did not get that for this meeting. And then we want to have a grand opening with Great Plains Manufacturing, since they were a major donor to the construction or to the funding of that playground.
Yesterday I was walking my dog there, and a busload of Heartland preschool kids showed up and just filled the whole playground. It was really, that's what it's all about. Yep.
Yeah, your picture was nice. Thank you for sharing. And if there's other questions regarding the activity reports, there is a picture of the finished pour-in-place surfacing for the Lakewood Playground. But if there's any other questions regarding the activity report, please ask.
On this picture that you have of the playground with the concrete all the way around, that's what you're talking about, bringing the level up with the dirt?
Yeah, that was completed today.
Okay.
It looks a lot different with that soil there, and that'll be seeded, and so we have grass growing up to that curb. And as you can tell, there's not a sidewalk entrance, but that'll be there, sidewalk going up to that. And then the sign will be adjacent to that sidewalk.
We do have our aquatics supervisor here, Andy. So if there's any aquatics questions, or maybe she can update you on where we're at with Kenwood Cove.
Trying to pull up my email quick because I had my numbers. We are doing okay in hiring, but we are just really struggling with lifeguards, as we do every year. So I am suggesting to applicants to try lifeguarding first, and if that is not a good fit, then we can move them over into cashier or maintenance, because those positions are filling up quickly, to try to go for the lifeguard side of it first to fill those positions. But other than that, my one other update is, out of the 3 spray pads, we got the first one up and running and filtering with water today out at Centennial. And the other 2 will be up and going by the end of this week. They will be officially open May 1st, but we wanted to get the water in them early so that it could start filtering. So
It's that time of year, very busy.
So how many gallons is a pool? The water that you put into the area, I should say.
For Kenwood Cove?
Kenwood Cove itself would be anywhere between 600,000 gallons, about, little bit more than that?
About 660,000 gallons total.
Oh, yeah.
For 3 bodies of water.
So it's supposed to get down to 30 on Saturday. What happens at the spray park?
They'll be okay. It won't, the ground is warm enough that it won't be cold enough to freeze in that short amount of time, but it's not helping me with getting the lap pool warmed up so I can start training staff.
And the recirculation systems keep the water moving, so it's not going to get hard. And I don't believe it's going to get, based on the forecast, I have not seen that. It's not going to get cold enough, long enough for anything to do any damage.
Okay, good.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for all the work. Just a little bit here. And thank you for Match Madness and hosting that, and for those of us who got the late shift, bringing up the K-State basketball game so we could watch it while we were working. So. All right, new business.
The last page of your packet are relatively small images, but there are 3 pads at Barkley Dog Park. Prior to the COVID pandemic, we practiced shutting one of these pads down to let it heal and grow and grass to recover. As the pandemic was starting, there was a large public push to open all 3 pads because of the amount of people that were using Barkley Park. Our intention is to go back to doing that and closing one of those pads to let the grass heal and do some turf maintenance for a year, and then have a cycle of closing one pad, keeping 2 open, and then cycling through the different 3 pads to allow that grass to heal. There is an irrigation system there. It's mostly Bermuda grass. The pictures are kind of deceiving because some of that is mulch, but we've put that mulch there because there's no grass there, and the grass has not been able to grow. Some of the pictures are deceiving because this time of year, Bermuda grass is still dormant and it looks brown. But I would encourage all of you to go to Barkley Park and look at the turf and see the shape it's in. But I wanted to make sure the board was aware because I believe there's going to be, there might be some negative or some comments relating to us now going back to what we used to do, which was closing one of those pods to let that turf heal. The 2 remaining pods would be a small dog pod and then a large dog pod. And we would maintain that. And because in the shape it's in now, we would have to recondition all 3 of them if we don't give them the opportunity to heal. And that's significantly more expensive to do so. If we had to close it all to redo all the turf. If we don't start this process soon, this year, we are facing a larger project ahead.
What's any ballpark a number? Any ballpark on the number of dogs that use it?
Ballpark? No, I could not ballpark. A lot is too qualitative.
You see people up there a lot, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I just was trying to figure out if there's a
Yeah, we don't have a way to measure the number of users there, but it's significant. It's very, very popular. It's been well received by the community, and it's well received by our pet population or dog population and owners.
I'm up there quite a bit, and it doesn't matter what time of day. As soon as the sun's up and as soon as the sun's going down, you're going to see activity in that facility.
But I wanted to make sure you're aware that was our intention of moving forward. I'm also doing this same exercise with the Animal Control Advisory Board in the month of May. So, any questions regarding that? Any concerns?
Just seems like it's something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Period.
We
People will
we would agree.
adjust.
I'm sorry. What,
People will adjust.
Okay, I appreciate that. I wrote recommendation there, but I don't think I need your recommendation. It's my recommendation to you that we're going to be doing this.
Yep.
So do we need a motion or something to say?
I don't think that's necessary in this case.
We can all just nod at you and say, sounds good.
Yes, your feedback is well appreciated. And I'm sorry, the rubber mulch, a few months ago, our Dennis, our park superintendent, applied for a grant to pay for 50% of rubber mulch to infill our existing we have 6 rubber mulch playgrounds, or 5, and we applied for a grant to bring 4 of those back to the required level, and the grant was from the state of Kansas using a rubber mulch, a tire grant, or a recycled tire grant, where they cover 50% of all the costs. And so we were approved for that grant, and we got that notification just a few weeks back, and we turned in the documents and the requirement. There's some requirements we have to follow. It has to be supervised by a playground safety inspector. We have to use tires that are 50% of recycled materials. We have to use rubber mulch from 50%. 50% of the content of the rubber mulch has to be from recycled materials, and we have to meet some requirements. But we intend on following those requirements, and we will get that funding sometime in the month of May, and then we will be using that rubber mulch to bring our 4 remaining rubber mulch playgrounds up to a proper level. I'm probably going to need a little help here, but we have rubber mulch at Jerry Ivy Park, Magnolia Soccer Complex, Steve Hawley Park, and Oakdale. Okay, thank you. And so that mulch will be used in those 4 locations.
So it has to get to 12 inches. Is that the level you were getting at with the rubber mulch?
Probably defer that to Brett or Dennis.
No, with rubber mulch, we don't have to go. Our fall height doesn't require that much. And so in most cases, we're about 6+ inches that we try to maintain. So when you put mulch in, it's going to compress. And so when you're putting it to 6, they ask you go to 9 and let it compress. So we are going up above and letting it compress down to about 6 inches, because that would suffice our fall heights in all of those playgrounds.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like that using, the state subsidizing the use of rubber tires solves several problems. Getting rid of rubber tires and making good playground bases.
So we just have to keep building playgrounds.
And keep on putting mulch in there.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to old business.
So let's see, just giving you some project updates. We have recently, the north tennis courts at Oakdale have a kind of an unsafe surface. It has a lot of cracks. We have closed that off for public use. However, the south courts, we did open up based on last month. We had a pickleball group that wished to use those courts. We went through a cycle with the city manager's office and just had a review of them, took pictures of them. We did feel that courts 5, 6, 7, and 8, which are the south courts at Oakdale, were in good enough shape to use. We dedicated that space to be pickleball only. We did buy some additional pickleball nets and have them stationed there. The pickleball group was very pleased with that. stop me if you have any questions. I'm going to keep on rolling through my old business. I gave you an update on Lakewood Playground. A few added details about Bill Burke infield turf. Those CXT units are they're prefabricated, pre-constructed bathrooms that were installed. Those currently, they do have all the utilities hooked up to them, water, electric, sewer. And however, right now we have to do some site improvements around it. It needs a concrete pad that goes up to him. There's one that has the elevation, has a higher elevation change, so we have to do some additional sidewalks.
I have a question. I'm sorry. Does CXT stand for something, or is it a brand, or what?
It's a brand name. CXT is a brand name. I think we've been calling them CXT units for the past year, and so I think it's common. It's somewhat common to say, but it is a prefabricated, pre-constructed concrete bathroom.
Okay.
I'm sure CXT stands for something, but I don't know what that might be. Those have water, those have sewer, and those have electric. However, we cannot open to the public at this time. It's predicted or estimated to have those concrete improvements done, concrete pads, to get to those bathrooms by the end of the week. There is an open permit that we have to get that permit closed before we open it to the public. And so there's a little bit of work to do there. Sod, as Travis mentioned, irrigation and sod work is ongoing, and that's mostly by our staff. There is a little bit of work still being done by the turf infield contractor. Part of that is sod on fields 7 and 8. That'll be starting tomorrow at 8 a.m., and they're putting in sod. That sod needs a chance to settle in and be watered in. And that'll be a couple, maybe 2-week process to allow that sod to have a chance to grow. And then we'll start, going field by field, making sure the irrigation is set, and getting sod in those fields once we establish irrigation back to those fields. A lot of work at Bill Burke going on. But making it work while we are still able to allow public to use the space, use the fields, except for 7 and 8. 7 and 8 are kind of off limits right now until we accept that work from the contractor, from the infield, turf infield contractor.
So where all are you putting in the turf then?
The 8 fields at Bill Burke Park.
Right, but whereabouts? I mean, is this in the outfield?
Infield only.
Infield only? Okay.
And then, so there's a area in between the synthetic turf infield and the outfield that got cut of grass, and that sod goes into that area that got cut.
Okay. I was asking the wrong thing. I meant sod.
That's fine. When we, part of the reason for that was we expanded the scope or expanded the size early on in the design phase to include a greater area going into the outfield so we can accommodate different levels of play. So if we wanted to do, I can't remember the different distances, Travis, but we can have a second base at 3 different locations depending on the age of play. And so we went a little bit further in the outfield, which changes the grade of the elevation of the outfield and the new infield. So we have to use that sod and do some dirt work to make that right.
What's the condition of the outfields at Bill Burke? I mean, are they in pretty decent shape in spite of the construction and everything?
Parks does a great job with, the outfield grass itself is in good shape. He's talking about that transition area,
right.
And we did go further back to accommodate. At Bill Burke, right now, we can accommodate 12 and under baseball, which we've done before, but those infields were pretty small for that. So we did go back a little bit for 12 and under baseball, and anything below, and any level of fast pitch it will accommodate. And where I'm talking about is that deep short or that deep second.
Right.
There's plenty of space now than before. So that transition area is what they're sodding right now. It's about 4 to 5 feet of dirt, and what they did is backfilled it and made it level so it was safe to play. And now we're kind of backtracking and putting sod in that area instead of dirt.
And to go a little further in that, on field 7 and 8, there is much more grass cut to make that grade correct. So that's why we're not planning on that, allowing the field contractor to do that work. Whereas the 4 feet that Travis was talking about was really restricted to fields 1 through 6. The park staff and a contractor were able to get the monument sign replaced. The concrete was done by a contractor, and then Dennis's staff went in and replaced the bronze lettering that was damaged from a vehicle a while back. The plaque and the lettering are now completed. And so at the end of this month, we're also doing some bronze restoration at Sunset Park for the rest of the memorial. Some of the bronze plaques and the large bronze plaques in the middle of the memorial, and the bronze eagle that's on top of the memorial in the middle. As I mentioned before about Country Club Park, we have that addition for that swing set. And concrete improvements, we finished concrete at Bill Burke, mostly at Bill Burke. There's one small bit to be done at Oakdale Park, and they're on to Sunset Park right now. They're going to, well, I haven't told Dennis this, but we're trying to change up the schedule a little bit. But what remains is Lakewood, Steve Hawley Cemetery, Steve Hawley Park, Phillips Park. So those concrete sidewalk improvements are ongoing, and it's looking really good. I think I covered a lot there, but if there's any other questions about any of that, let me know.
On the tennis court, the registration process to get onto the field, could you explain, are we going to continue that, or?
I did not. I knew you were going to ask that. I got an update.
I had to try. I tried twice to get on, and I still hadn't gotten on. And I'm pretty tech oriented, but it's a long process. Mm-hmm. And then one of the questions I had is on Easter afternoon, they were charging $2.50 for 30 minutes, or $5 for an hour. I was just kind of curious why they were doing that versus their public court things.
I know they've recognized 2 things, and hopefully I can answer your 2 questions based on what I know. Salina Tennis Alliance recognizes that they have a problem. They recognize that people are having difficulty entering into the facility, and they're also having difficulty making a reservation. We've tasked them with coming up with a solution, and they've provided a solution today, but they provided they need some more information from us, but their work, they recognize that there is an issue on both of your questions, and they seem to be receptive to allowing open use via just a publicly available code, or making the gates available, or propping the gates open. They are receptive to that. Again, what they have said before to you all is, they are worried about vandalism. They're worried about people doing inappropriate things, whether it be skateboards or bikes. But we tell them that it is a public facility, and this is part of how people use public facilities, is that these types of activities happen, and we take care of it as a normal course of our business.
So there'll be signage Will there be signage that you put up, like saying no skateboarding or anything like that when it's more available?
There's signage there now,
Is there? Okay.
but it's relatively small. I think when we come to a resolution on how we want to improve the public experience of entering and using the tennis courts, where we would provide or buy better signage for them. Not sure if I answered your question, but I think they acknowledge the problem,
Okay.
and they acknowledge that it's not working the way they wanted. That it's not working the way they had visioned it, and they're working on solutions for
Yeah,
that.
when I did my sign up, now I'm getting emails from USTA. And I'm not a tennis player, but it's just a process that I think we just have to figure out how to do it. It's a great facility. I like to go by there and see. They had some tournaments there and things, and so it's nice to see some usage of it. But just the general public, some kid doesn't have a phone. How do they go just play? They bring their
Right.
tennis rackets and balls, and
Right.
so
Well, they recognize that very scenario,
Yeah.
and they've seen it themselves and realize this is not working. Part of that solution, which I didn't share before, was a better software solution than the USTA version of software they're using that's incorporated into their website. So that's part of their solution as well.
thanks.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, general announcements?
I don't have any.
None? All right, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I thought you got the day off.